Picture this. You walk into a room and suddenly everyone's problems become your fault. The team project failed? Must be your negative energy. Family gathering went south? Obviously, you overthought everything again. Your friend's relationship ended? Clearly, you gave bad advice. Sound familiar? If you're nodding your head right now, welcome to what I call the INFJ Scapegoat Syndrome, a phenomenon that's destroying the mental health of millions of sensitive souls worldwide. Today, we're not just talking about this problem. We're dismantling it piece by piece and giving you the bulletproof strategies to never be anyone's emotional punching bag again. Stick around because what I'm about to share will fundamentally change how you see yourself and how others treat you. This isn't just another personality type video. This is your roadmap to freedom. 1. The INFJ blame magnet. Why you're everyone's favorite target. Here's something nobody talks about. INFJs don't just accidentally become scapegoats. We're practically custom built for it, and once you understand why, everything starts making sense. Think of INFJs as emotional lightning rods. We naturally attract the emotional storms of others because we have this uncanny ability to absorb feelings like a sponge. But here's the kicker. When lightning strikes a rod, what happens? The rod gets blamed for attracting the lightning, not praised for protecting everything around it. Our intuitive nature means we're always 3 steps ahead, seeing problems before they fully manifest. When those problems eventually explode, and they always do, guess who everyone remembers being involved from the beginning? You got it? The person who tried to warn everyone gets blamed for causing the very thing they tried to prevent. But there's something even more sinister happening here. Society has conditioned us to believe that our sensitivity is a weakness, that our emotional intelligence is too much, and that our need for authentic connection makes us difficult. So when things go wrong, the narrative becomes, well, of course it's the sensitive one's fault. They're always stirring up trouble. The truth? We're not stirring up trouble. We're revealing trouble that already exists. And people hate us for it because it forces them to confront uncomfortable realities they'd rather ignore. We become the messenger that everyone wants to shoot. 2. The anatomy of blame, how toxic people hunt INFJs. Let me paint you a picture of how this actually works in real time. It's not random. There's a calculated psychology behind why certain people target INFJs with blame. First, they test your boundaries. They'll make a small accusation or blame you for something minor and watch how you respond. Do you immediately apologize? Do you over-explain? Do you take responsibility that isn't yours? Congratulations, you've just painted a target on your back. Next comes the escalation phase. Once they know you won't fight back, the blame gets bigger and more frequent. What started as, you made me feel bad when you said that, becomes, everything wrong in this relationship is because of how you are. Then there's the gaslighting component. They'll rewrite history, making you question your own memory of events. You always do this. They'll say, even when it's the first time anything like this has happened. They'll bring up unrelated past incidents to make their current blame seem more legitimate. The most dangerous part? They'll use your own empathy against you. They'll paint themselves as the victim of your difficult personality, making you feel guilty for, well, existing as yourself. It's emotional manipulation at its finest, and INFJs fall for it because we genuinely care about not hurting others. Here's what's really happening. These people have learned that INFJs are safe targets. We won't retaliate, we won't expose them publicly, and we'll actually help them feel better about themselves by absorbing their guilt and shame. We're like emotional trash cans for people who refuse to deal with their own mess. 3. The INFJ blame epidemic. Where it happens and why. Let's get brutally honest about the battlegrounds where INFJs face the most unfair blame. Recognizing these patterns is your first line of defense. The family scapegoat dynamic. In dysfunctional families, there's often one person designated as the problem child, the one who gets blamed when family tensions rise. INFJs often fill this role because we're the ones brave enough to point out the elephant in the room. We call out favoritism, we refuse to enable addiction. We won't pretend everything's fine when it's not. The family's response? Blame us for being troublemakers instead of addressing the real issues. The workplace whistleblower. At work, INFJs often become the unofficial therapists for our colleagues. We listen to everyone's complaints, we notice when processes are broken, we see through office politics. But when we try to address these issues or when tensions finally boil over, suddenly we're the negative ones who bring down team morale. Management finds it easier to blame the person highlighting problems than to fix the problems themselves. The friend group truth teller. In social circles, we're often the moral compass. The ones who won't laugh at cruel jokes, won't participate in gossip, won't enable toxic behavior. This makes others uncomfortable because our presence reminds them of their own moral compromises. So when group dynamics get messy, we become the scapegoat for being too serious or judging everyone. The relationship emotional sponge. In romantic relationships, partners quickly learn that INFJs will absorb criticism without much pushback. We'll endlessly analyze ourselves, wondering what we did wrong and how we can be better. This makes us perfect targets for partners who refuse to take responsibility for their own emotional reactions or relationship problems. The pattern is always the same. We see problems, we try to help or address them, and then we get blamed when those problems inevitably surface. It's like being blamed for the weather just because you predicted the storm. For the silent suffering, what happens inside the INFJ mind? What people don't see is the internal devastation that happens when an INFJ faces unfair blame. It's not just hurt feelings, it's a complete unraveling of our sense of self and reality. The first hit is to our identity. INFJs derive deep meaning from being helpers, peacekeepers, and positive forces in others' lives. When we're blamed for causing harm, it creates a cognitive dissonance so intense it can feel physically painful. We start questioning everything. Am I actually a bad person? Do I really cause problems everywhere I go? Maybe everyone else is right and I'm wrong about who I am. Then comes the analysis paralysis. We replay every conversation, every interaction, every facial expression, looking for clues about what we did wrong. We create elaborate theories about our supposed failures, often taking responsibility for things that have nothing to do with us. This mental rumination can last for weeks or even months after a single incident. The perfectionist response kicks in next. We become hypervigilant about our behavior, walking on eggshells, overanalyzing every word before we speak. We think if we can just be perfect enough, if we can anticipate every possible negative outcome, then maybe we won't get blamed next time. This is exhausting and impossible to maintain. Perhaps most damaging is what I call reality erosion. When you're consistently told that your perceptions are wrong, that your version of events didn't happen, that your feelings are invalid, you start to doubt your own grasp on reality. This is particularly devastating for INFJs because our intuitive insights are usually spot on, but the constant gaslighting makes us question our greatest strength. The isolation that follows is heartbreaking. We start withdrawing from relationships because engaging feels too risky. We stop sharing our thoughts and feelings because they've been used against us. We become ghosts of ourselves, present in body but absent in spirit. 5. The blame addiction. Why INFJs can't stop taking responsibility. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Many INFJs become addicted to accepting blame. It sounds crazy, but there are psychological payoffs that keep us trapped in this pattern. First, there's the illusion of control. When we take responsibility for everything that goes wrong, it means we theoretically have the power to fix it. This feels better than accepting that some things are genuinely out of our control. If it's our fault, then we can prevent it from happening again. If it's not our fault, then we're powerless, and that's terrifying for a personality type that craves meaning and purpose. Second, there's the conflict avoidance payoff. Accepting blame immediately stops the uncomfortable confrontation. The angry person calms down, the tension dissipates, and peace is restored, at least temporarily. For INFJs who hate conflict, this immediate relief can be addictive, even though it causes more problems long-term. Third, there's the martyr complex. Deep down, some INFJs get a sense of identity from being the long-suffering ones who absorb everyone else's pain. It makes us feel special, noble, even superior. We tell ourselves we're better than others because we don't blame people unfairly. This righteousness can be intoxicating. Fourth, there's the familiarity factor. If you grew up in a family where accepting blame was a survival strategy, it feels normal and comfortable even when it's destructive. The chaos of constantly being blamed might feel more familiar than the unknown territory of setting boundaries. Finally, there's the people-pleasing reward system. When we accept blame, people often follow up with positive attention. They tell us we're so understanding or so mature. This intermittent reinforcement keeps us hooked on the behavior, even though it's slowly destroying our self-worth. Breaking this addiction requires recognizing these unconscious payoffs and finding healthier ways to meet those underlying needs. 6. The blame detox. Rewiring your response system. It's time for some tough love. If you're tired of being everyone's emotional dumping ground, you need to completely rewire how you respond to blame. This isn't about becoming mean or uncaring. It's about becoming strategically self-protective. The 24-hour rule. When someone blames you for something, resist the urge to respond immediately. Your first instinct will be to apologize, explain, or take responsibility. Instead, say something like, "I need some time to think about this. Let's discuss it tomorrow." This breaks the immediate blame acceptance pattern and gives you time to evaluate the situation objectively. The responsibility inventory. Before accepting any blame, ask yourself 3 questions. Did I directly cause this problem? Did I have the information and ability to prevent it? Am I being blamed for someone else's emotional reaction to circumstances beyond my control? If the answer to any of these is no, the blame isn't yours to carry. The evidence requirement. Start demanding specific evidence when you're blamed. Instead of accepting vague accusations like, "You always make things difficult," ask for concrete examples. Can you give me a specific instance when I made things difficult? Most unfair blame crumbles under this kind of scrutiny because it's based on feelings, not facts. The boundary statement. Develop a go-to phrase that protects you without escalating conflict. Something like, "I'm willing to discuss what went wrong and what we can both do differently, but I won't accept responsibility for things I didn't do." Practice this until it becomes automatic. The support system check. Before accepting blame, run the situation by a trusted friend who knows you well. Often, an outside perspective can immediately spot unfair blame that you're too close to see clearly. 7. The communication revolution. How to respond like a boss. Most INFJs communicate like victims when we're being blamed. We over-explain, we apologize excessively, we make ourselves smaller. It's time to flip the script and communicate like the intelligent, valuable people we are. Stop jading. JADE stands for justify, argue, defend, explain. When you're being unfairly blamed, resist the urge to do any of these. Instead, simply state your position clearly and calmly. "I don't agree with that assessment." Full stop. No justification needed. Use the redirect method. When someone tries to blame you, redirect the conversation to problem solving. Instead of focusing on who's at fault, let's talk about how we can prevent this from happening again. This shifts the energy from blame to solutions. Master the broken record technique. Pick one clear statement about your position and repeat it calmly every time they try to argue. "I understand you're upset, but I don't accept responsibility for this." Don't add new information, don't elaborate. Just repeat your boundary like a broken record. Deploy strategic silence. Sometimes the best response to unfair blame is no response at all. Let them vent, remain calm and silent, and when they're done, simply say, "Are you finished?" This puts the focus back on their behavior rather than defending yours. Use perspective questions. Ask questions that force them to examine their own logic. "Do you really think I have that much control over the situation?" Or, "What would you have done differently if you were in my position?" This often reveals how unreasonable their expectations are. 8. The relationship audit. Identifying blame patterns. Not all relationships are worth saving. Some people are professional blame shifters who will never take responsibility for their own actions. Learning to identify these patterns early can save you years of emotional damage. The serial blamer. This person has never met a problem that wasn't someone else's fault. They have a long history of burned relationships and always have elaborate stories about how they were wronged. They'll eventually turn this pattern on you too. The emotional vampire. These people seem to create drama everywhere they go, but they never see themselves as the common denominator. They feed off the emotional energy of others and will suck you dry if you let them. The gaslighter. They don't just blame you for problems, they rewrite history to make you question your own memory and perception. They'll swear things happened differently than you remember, making you doubt your own sanity. The victim player. Everything bad that happens to them is someone else's fault, but they never take action to improve their situation. They collect blame and resentment like trophies and expect you to validate their victimhood constantly. The boundary crosser. No matter how clearly you communicate your limits, they find ways to make you responsible for their feelings about those boundaries. They can't respect your autonomy and will blame you for being difficult when you protect yourself. If someone fits multiple categories, it might be time to seriously reconsider the relationship. Life is too short to spend it with people who refuse to see you clearly or treat you fairly. 9. The inner critic retraining. Silencing your harshest judge. Here's the thing nobody tells you about being an INFJ scapegoat. The worst blame often comes from inside your own head. We develop such harsh inner critics that we blame ourselves even when no one else is blaming us. Your inner critic learned its script from years of external blame. It says things like, "You're too sensitive. You always cause problems. You should have known better. It's probably your fault somehow." This voice is so familiar it feels like truth, but it's actually trauma talking. Start noticing when this voice pipes up. What triggers it? What phrases does it use? Often you'll recognize the words of specific people from your past, parents, teachers, ex-partners, who implanted these thoughts in your mind. Challenge the inner critic the same way you'd challenge external blame. Ask for evidence. Demand specifics. When it says you always, ask always. Really? Can you think of even one exception? Usually these absolute statements fall apart under scrutiny. Develop a compassionate inner voice to counter the critic. What would you say to a friend who was facing the same situation? How would you comfort a child who made the same mistake? Give yourself that same kindness and understanding. Practice self-forgiveness daily. Make it a ritual. Before bed, forgive yourself for any mistakes you made that day, any imperfect reactions, any human moments of weakness. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love and respect. 10. The energy shield, protecting your sensitive soul. INFJs are naturally empathetic, but empathy without boundaries is like having an immune system that attacks itself. You need to develop what I call an energy shield, a way to stay compassionate without absorbing everyone else's emotional garbage. The visualization technique. Before entering situations where you might face blame, visualize yourself surrounded by a protective bubble of light. Imagine negative energy bouncing off this bubble instead of penetrating your emotional space. It sounds woo-woo, but it works because it trains your subconscious to maintain psychological distance. The emotional labeling method. When someone starts blaming you, mentally label what's happening. This is projection. This is deflection. This is emotional dumping. Creating this cognitive distance helps prevent you from absorbing their emotions as if they were your own. The energy return practice. Imagine gathering up all the blame, guilt, and negative emotions that don't belong to you, bundling them up, and mentally sending them back to their rightful owner. You can even visualize handing them a package labeled "Return to Sender." The grounding ritual. After encounters with blame shifters, do something that reconnects you with your own energy. Take a shower and imagine washing away their negativity. Go for a walk in nature. Listen to music that resonates with your true self. Do anything that reminds you who you are when you're not being attacked. 11. The truth about toxic relationships. When to cut the cord. This is where things get real. Some relationships are so toxic that the healthiest thing you can do is walk away. For INFJs, this feels like failure because we believe every relationship can be healed with enough understanding and patience. But some people don't want to be healed, they want to stay sick and make everyone around them sick too. The point of no return signs. They blame you for their emotions consistently. They rewrite history to make you the villain. They cannot apologize sincerely without deflecting blame back to you. They make you feel crazy for having normal human reactions. They punish you for setting boundaries. They show no genuine interest in your perspective or feelings. If you recognize these patterns, you're not dealing with someone who occasionally handles stress poorly. You're dealing with someone who fundamentally doesn't respect you as a person. No amount of love, patience, or understanding will change this because the problem isn't their awareness. It's their willingness to treat you well. The grieving process. Leaving toxic relationships requires grieving the person you thought they were, the relationship you hoped you could have, and the parts of yourself you lost trying to make it work. This grief is real and necessary. Don't rush through it or judge yourself for feeling sad about losing someone who treated you badly. The liberation reality. Once you remove toxic people from your life, you'll be amazed at how much mental and emotional energy becomes available for positive pursuits. The constant vigilance, the walking on eggshells, the endless analysis of their moods, all of that energy returns to you and can be invested in relationships that actually nourish your soul. 12. The INFJ revolution. Rewriting your story. It's time to stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start seeing yourself as the author of your own story. This isn't toxic positivity, it's recognizing that you have more power than you've been using. From scapegoat to boundary setter. Your sensitivity isn't a weakness that makes you vulnerable to blame, it's a superpower that helps you detect toxic patterns early. Instead of absorbing other people's emotional messes, you can use your sensitivity as an early warning system to protect yourself. From people pleaser to authentic connector. You don't need to be perfect to be lovable. The people worth having in your life will love you for your authentic self, flaws and all. The ones who only appreciate you when you're convenient weren't really friends anyway. From emotional sponge to selective supporter. You can choose who deserves your empathy and emotional support. Your caring is a gift, not an obligation. Give it to people who appreciate it and reciprocate it, not to those who take it for granted or weaponize it against you. From problem absorber to solution finder. Instead of taking responsibility for everyone else's problems, focus on being part of solutions that don't require you to sacrifice your well-being. True help empowers others to solve their own issues rather than enabling dependency. 13. The healing journey, reclaiming your power. Healing from years of unfair blame doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey that requires patience, self-compassion, and often professional support. But every step forward is a victory worth celebrating. Phase 1. Recognition. You've already started this by watching this video. Recognizing the patterns is the first step toward breaking them. You're not crazy, you're not too sensitive, and you're not responsible for everyone else's emotional regulation. Phase 2. Boundary setting. Start small with low-stakes situations. Practice saying no to unreasonable requests. Practice stating your perspective without over-explaining. Each small victory builds confidence for bigger challenges. Phase 3. Relationship evaluation. Take an honest look at your relationships. Which ones energize you and which ones drain you? Which people support your growth and which ones keep you small? This evaluation might be painful, but it's necessary. Phase 4. Identity reconstruction. Rebuild your sense of self based on your own values and experiences rather than on others' opinions of you. What do you think about yourself? What are your standards and expectations? What makes you proud of who you are? Phase 5. Purpose redirection. Channel your natural helping instincts in healthier directions. Volunteer for causes you believe in. Mentor people who genuinely appreciate your guidance. Use your gifts in contexts where they're valued and reciprocated. Remember, healing isn't linear. You'll have setbacks and challenging days. You might slip back into old patterns occasionally. That's normal and human. What matters is that you keep moving forward, keep protecting yourself, and keep honoring your worth. 14. The new INFJ, thriving beyond the blame game. Imagine a version of yourself that walks into rooms with confidence, knowing that you're not responsible for managing everyone else's emotions. Imagine relationships where your sensitivity is celebrated rather than criticized, where your insights are valued rather than blamed. This isn't a fantasy, it's your future if you're willing to do the work. The new INFJ doesn't avoid all conflict. They engage in healthy conflict when necessary. They don't absorb all emotions. They choose which ones deserve their energy. They don't accept all blame. They take responsibility for their actions while refusing responsibility for others' reactions. This transformation doesn't mean you become cold or uncaring. You're still the same empathetic, intuitive, caring person you've always been. The difference is that you now have boundaries around these gifts, protecting them from people who would abuse or take them for granted. You start attracting healthier relationships because you're modeling what respect looks like. When you refuse to accept unfair treatment, you signal to others that you deserve better. The right people will rise to meet this standard, and the wrong people will eliminate themselves from your life. Your confidence grows as you realize that standing up for yourself doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a healthy person. You stop apologizing for existing and start celebrating the unique value you bring to the world. Conclusion, your liberation manifesto. As we wrap up this deep dive into the INFJ blame trap, I want you to understand something fundamental. You are not broken and you don't need fixing. The world needs your sensitivity, your empathy, your ability to see connections others miss. What you need isn't to change who you are. You need to protect who you are from people who don't appreciate your gifts. The blame stops here. Today. Right now. You're drawing a line in the sand and declaring that you will no longer accept responsibility for things that aren't your fault. You will no longer shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You will no longer apologize for having feelings, opinions, and boundaries. This doesn't mean you become perfect overnight. It means you commit to the journey of reclaiming your power, one boundary at a time, one healthy choice at a time, one relationship at a time. Your sensitivity is not a curse, it's your superpower. Your empathy is not a weakness, it's your strength. Your intuition is not paranoia, it's your inner wisdom trying to protect you. Trust these gifts, honor these gifts, and surround yourself with people who celebrate these gifts. The world has enough people who accept blame they don't deserve, who shrink themselves to avoid conflict, who sacrifice their well-being for others' comfort. What the world needs more of is INFJs who know their worth, who set healthy boundaries, who use their gifts wisely and protect them fiercely. You have the power to break generational patterns of blame and scapegoating. You have the power to model healthy relationships for the people watching your journey. You have the power to create the life you deserve, one where your sensitivity is honored, your boundaries are respected, and your authentic self is celebrated. The blame game ends with you. The healing begins with you. Your liberation starts now. You're not everyone's emotional trash can. You're not the universe's problem solver. You're not responsible for other people's happiness, emotional regulation, or life choices. You are a unique, valuable, irreplaceable human being who deserves to be treated with respect, kindness, and fairness. Anything less is unacceptable, and now you have the tools to make sure everyone in your life knows it. Welcome to your new life. Welcome to your freedom. Welcome to the real you, boundaries and all.